All right, Chiefs Kingdom, we are back. This is the AP Film Room YouTube show on the Arrowhead Pride YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're liking the page. Checking in on everything going on here. Today, we are talking Chiefs. We are talking Chiefs 49ers, actually. Great win on Sunday, 44-23. Chiefs take down another number one defense, and we will be getting into that very soon. But first, Bryan, I'll bring you in. How you feeling about the team, man? 5-2 going into the bye week. Kind of got a couple of weeks before we see them next. You got any takes on the Chiefs right now?
Ron, I told you before the game, and it's kind of weird for me because I'm usually very glass half full, but for whatever reason, I was nervous about the game in San Francisco. I felt like it was kind of just timing wise. You know, they always say it's more about when you play somebody than who you play. And I felt like we were running into going on the road at the wrong time. I didn't feel good. So seeing how they played, honestly, I came out of that feeling better than I have any week this year because it reinforced that they really, when they want to be and when they execute, they are a cut above. And, you know, Buffalo, of course, is going to be there. Other teams like San Francisco can beat them, I'm sure. But it's just crazy because I think we at least kind of thought this was a little bit of a reset year and the AFC West was going to be tighter than it is. And right now, 7 weeks through, kind of feels like the Chiefs are going to be on cruise control soon. So, hard to ask for much more than that.
Yeah, I definitely was starting to feel that same way going into the game. Just, Niners defense getting healthier. You mentioned rebuild year or reset year. You think, you're going to have a little more lumps than maybe we've seen compared to the rest of the NFL. So I'm with you. Nate, how'd you feel about the game on Sunday and just how you feeling about the Chiefs right now?
Yeah, to talk about the game on Sunday, it was a great game because in the past, I feel like the teams the Chiefs struggle with most are like the Shanahan style teams, the teams that can like run the ball, get under center, put you in like your base defense, and then on defense it's just like this aggressive flying defense. And I was really worried about it before the game. I did pick the Chiefs to win because I just thought the 49ers have too many injuries, but I thought it'd be a really sloppy game. And it looked like it was going to be that really early in the game. But the Chiefs rallied. The person on both sides of the ball played largely well. I thought the game plan was sharp. And yeah, to talk about the Chiefs season so far, I don't know if I could have asked for anything else. I mean, the Colts game was bad, but the Chiefs lose a game or two every year that they shouldn't have. The Bills are a really good team. And like from a process standpoint, I think pretty much everything's been fine so far.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy to be at this point, looking at the rest of the NFL, pretty much thinking, why, there's only two other teams really close to the level of Kansas City right now. So I just realized I didn't introduce any of us, but, I'm sure the people know. I'm sure the people know by now. I am the lead analyst at arrowheadpride.com, Ron Kopp Jr. Nate Christensen and Bryan Stewart join me on this show because they do a great job breaking down film for the site. So make sure you check out their articles on the website. And we're going to get into it because I do think, Nate's got the hot topic today. I think everyone's excited about a particular wide receiver that's had a couple good games in a row in Kansas City. Nate, why don't you take it away and break down what we know about, I'll just say it, Juju Smith-Schuster. Let's do it.
Yeah, so obviously this offseason, I think the number one topic point talking was about like who's going to emerge as like the wide receiver two. Like we knew what Travis Kelce was going to be, but who was next? And Mahomes talked a lot about we're going to spread it around. It's going to be new someone every week. And through 5 weeks, it honestly was that. We had like the Justin Watson game in week 2, MVS shine in week 4 and week 5. But I was really interested to see with these past 2 weeks against the two best defenses in the NFL, like who was going to step up. And it's been Juju Smith-Schuster. Over the last 2 weeks, I have the stats here. He has 13 targets, 12 catches, 237 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's, top tier wide receiver production. And all the receivers played well Sunday, but I thought the way Juju played was clearly like a way that they're showing that they want to get him the ball. And I'll just get the clip started here.
Yeah, I agree, by the way. It definitely seems like the later the season has gone on, the more Juju's getting involved in the ways that we kind of feel like he should get involved. So I'm sure you're going to break that down.
Yeah, so the first clip here is Juju on back shoulder throws, which we talked about this before the show. This is not something Juju's traditionally known for winning at.
Right.
He is a big body, but he's not super tall. In his combine, he had like a 16th percentile vertical. So he's not a guy that's really going to go up and get the ball, and he's only 6'1". But I'll let these clips run here. We've seen the Chiefs target him twice over the past couple weeks, and the ways he wins with the back shoulder are really interesting. He doesn't really go up and like get the football. It's more just like he has the strength, the coordination to just like box out a cornerback. This clip here shows a good angle of it. He just gets his body in front of the receiver and just he has such strong hands. He has like 98th percentile hands. I think his arms are like 32 and a half inches long, which is really long for a wide receiver. And Juju's not the fastest athlete. He's not a guy who's like super explosive by any means, but he's just really coordinated and like really, really strong. And you clearly see like you can watch like Mahomes is hitting the back of his drop and he's just instantly throwing it. So there's clear trust there. And we'll get into that a little bit more, but like Juju's just a really trustworthy quarterback or wide receiver for a quarterback because he's just in the right position every time and he has such strong hands.
He does, man. No, that's the thing. And I've noticed on a few of these back shoulder throws that you're showing, like, I don't think the throw is perfect. Like, I think he could maybe put it even higher and away from the defender on a few of these, but Juju's just making it not matter by playing so strong at the point of attack. That's one thing I've noticed about these plays too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like he's just like he's really just big. He's wide. Like he has a really big catch radius, even though like you won't see him like go up in there and get it. And Juju going back to his days in Pittsburgh, he's never been like a strong man beater. The stat here from Matt Harmon is that he beat man coverage at like a 51% rate, which is the third lowest in the NFL in 2021. He had some injuries and stuff like that, but he's never been the strongest like man coverage player. But if he shows like an ability to win on the back shoulder, other things are going to open up for him because cornerbacks now have to worry about that. So slants, underneath routes are going to open more. And I do like the Chiefs turning to this more as teams are playing more man coverage because it works. Right.
Well, and the other thing too, and is that back shoulder throws have never really been in the Chiefs' offense's, repertoire. They've never really, first of all, had the receiver to go to it really, but I just don't think, it's something that Andy likes to do. It's kind of maybe a low percentage throw if you don't have the right quarterback receiver combination. So it is really cool to see them connecting on it because it does just add another wrinkle to the Chiefs offense. So I'm glad you highlighted that.
Yeah. So my second one here is that we've also seen Juju be targeted just on simple slant routes. And obviously these are going to open up more off the back shoulder. And I'm just going to let this clip run. Some of these are like designed, like this plays like the 3rd and 9 touchdown he scores. This is like a late read for Mahomes as like an outlet. And obviously his ability with yards after the catch. But we've seen the Chiefs target him more with slants. This is a stack formation up top here. MVS is just going to run a little pick. Juju's going to run right behind it, slant right over the middle of the field, and he's able to just turn upfield and make it a really big gain. And sure, like you're not going to see him go for 40-yard gains every play. Here's another play in the red zone. Kelsey's going to run a clear out. Juju's just going to run right underneath it with all the zone defenders out of the way. Just late outlet read and watch him make a play. But the play I wanted to mention particularly was this play. It's on a 2nd and 6. It's man-to-man up top with Charvarius Ward, who's had a really good year. And this is something that like you see really, really good receivers, top tier receivers like Devonta Adams win. And Juju's just going to, stutter release, go inside, and he's just going to box out Ward. And, he doesn't necessarily win with a ton of like separation or quickness. He doesn't have a ton of burst, but he's just in position all the time. He's able to use his body again to like box out. And from a cornerback position, that's really difficult to deal with, especially if you have to worry about your back shoulder being thrown against. He can all he has to do is just turn him and get his hip inside, and Mahomes is just able to pin it right on him. And Juju has such strong hands that he's able to just bring it in and go to the ground with contact. And it's, it sounds simple, but these are just easy man beaters.
Yeah, Brian, I want your thoughts real quick before you get into your thing. Just how you feeling, what you've seen from Juju Smith-Schuster so far, what has impressed you really? I know he just broke down what's really been what he's been killing these last couple of weeks, but just what are your thoughts so far on the Chiefs' new number 1 wide receiver, it looks like?
It's starting to look like what you, I think, hoped for best case scenario when he was signed. He's that complement to Kelsey as an underneath option. It's different. It's different than what they've had. You go back to the back shoulder piece that Nate was talking about. That's something they never did before. And, it used to be, okay, we have Tyreek. he's going to either outrun the corner or the play will break down and it'll go scramble drill. But now this is something that they can do with a big receiver like him or MBS. And even if the other team's getting pressure, that ball's out so quick that it really doesn't matter. My question with Juju is, because it's been getting thrown around on Twitter and what have you, is where do you draw the line on the finances? Because if he keeps up this pace, man, he is not going to be cheap to keep. And then it becomes a question of what do the Chiefs want to do? If he's going to, do what he has the last couple of weeks, there's an argument to be made to give him his money and whatever that might be. But I'm kind of curious where maybe you, Ron, or Nate, like where do you draw that line? What do you think APY wise is the ceiling for Juju?
Yeah, that is tough, right? Because he is, a really young player still. A guy that is still 25, 26 years old. And, I do think he's producing really well, but when you look at some of these top receiver contracts, I still don't know if I'd feel too comfortable, giving him that. What guys like, the Devontae Adams, even a Christian Kirk, even that deal is a lot. I don't know, Nate. I don't feel good answering that one way or the other. How do you feel about it? Do you have any takes on it?
The Christian Kirk deal would probably be around my ceiling. The one thing about Juju is that he's just sustainable in any offense, and you don't really have to worry about him in any type of scheme like Christian Kirk. If Christian Kirk's gonna get pressed, he's just not as effective. Or if you're asking him to run vertically, regardless of where the Chiefs offense evolves and shifts and personnel, there will always be a role for Juju, and he's gonna age exceptionally well. Because this sounds funny, but he already kind of plays like an older wide receiver. He doesn't necessarily rely on a ton of athleticism. So, probably somewhere around the 18 to $20 million. I do want Juju around long term, just because he's I think he can kind of proximate what Kelsey does right now as Kelsey gets older. So if you do need to reduce Kelsey's role, I think obviously you're not gonna see Juju block, but you don't really see Kelsey do that either. But a lot of those middle of field targets, I do think you can just kind of put Juju there, and they won't be as productive because it's just a different type of player. But I think that as Kelsey ages and is phased out of this team, Juju can be a good replacement almost.
That's a really good point, honestly. I do think Juju can do a lot of the stuff that Mahomes and Kelsey have really, gotten good at over the years. So I really like that point, honestly. But I don't know, Brian, you kind of gave us the question. Do you have an answer as you kind of get into what you want to talk about today?
I was going to say, too, I think it probably falls in that Christian Kirk range just because he has had some issues with health in recent years. And he even started this season, I think, a little unhealthy. And now we're kind of seeing him get his legs underneath him. So you gotta cap it somewhere. He doesn't need to be at the top of the market. But I certainly wouldn't hate to see him back because he's young, he's smart. Their chemistry is only going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
I guess real quick, the only thing is that could they sign him in the middle of the year? Could they extend? I guess maybe. I guess the contract's not. He's only here but I guess they could extend him, couldn't they?
They could. They could.
Well, shoot, I don't know. I'd think about it if I were the Chiefs right now. Maybe extending him a couple years.
I'm not sure the Chiefs really have the cap space to do that right now because they're so limited on cap. But if you can, I would do it.
Yeah, that's where the signing bonus comes in and all that. That might be.
That's a really good point. Well, Brian, why don't you get us into what you're going to talk about with the offense today? Because you also are looking at the Chiefs offense.
I am. And guys, I'm not the first person to say this, I know, but I have a little bit of a theory that I think we have enough sample size now that there's some legs to it. And it's frustrating at times, but I really believe that Andy Reid, the coaching staff, but really it's Andy. I think games like this against the best defenses, he goes for it, right? He brings his best stuff and leaves no doubt. But I think games against teams like, I don't know, the games coming up, the Titans, the Jaguars, he just tries to do just enough to get by, but he's not going to show anything extraordinary, anything new. And I think it's part of the reason why you get to the playoffs and their offense just, it rolls, man, because they have all this stuff to unfold. So I think we're going to see that, and I think we saw a piece of it Sunday because San Francisco, top defense, yardage-wise, entering the game, and they had their hands full, as we know. But The main key is how they helped the offensive line. We know the tackles have been struggling, and Andrew Wiley in particular, but Andy found so many different ways to help him out, and I'll just show a couple here. So this first play is the 3rd and 11 to MVS, and Ron, I know you showed this on Twitter too, kind of how that interception early in the game, them learning from how the 49ers were playing this cover 4 too high zone. The safeties were so aggressive driving underneath, and it bit them here. And you'll see Kelce, number 1 receiving option. He actually stays in and gives a chip on the edge here, just a little block that gives a little extra time. McKinnon, of course, he's becoming very well known for his ability to chip on the edge, and he's got Bosa down here. So it gives Mahomes plenty of time to survey, and he's going to find MVS. I'll let it roll now. You'll see that safety, drive. He drives underneath, and it leaves an opening for Valdez-Scantling. This is really all you can ask for from Marquez. This is why he was brought in, and it's exciting to see a guy who, no, he's not an elite wideout, but they're finding the ways to maximize his skills. Mahomes hitting the deep ball, the chemistry's better, but as I show this a couple more times, I really just want to focus on the blocking, right? Because Kelce, you see, get that help. McKinnon was there if he needed to be, but Bosa was affected by it, and he decided to go inside. And what you have is a huge conversion that really kind of put the game away.
Well, yeah, and something that just kind of maybe thinking about real quick, when you think about, maybe MVS compared to in the past, maybe a Tyreek Hill, or, I'll just stay with Tyreek Hill running like that deep post. Safeties are going to have a lot more of their attention and a lot more worry about Tyreek Hill. And I know MVS is a legitimate deep threat too, but I do wonder if some of that is just kind of the safety just kind of locking on a receiver that's maybe a little more of a threat to them. If that's Tyreek Hill on the outside, do they widen a little more and try not to get that over the top? That's where when people talk about, this year the deep ball is going to open up more without Tyreek, without the attention on him. I think this is a good example of, I think if Tyreek Hill runs this route, that safety is not getting, not coming up on anything, right? He's playing back. So I think it's a good example of that potentially.
No question. And, just to build on, we talked about Juju, him and Kelce. I feel like on paper, we talked sometimes about them having a good set of receivers who can do a little bit of everything. Sunday was one of the first games, maybe you could say Tampa Bay game as well, where you really saw it in action. You saw all these guys doing what they do best, and it kind of works together well. And it's, I don't know, man, it's pretty exciting, especially as they go into the bye. You think it'll probably only get better.
Yeah, well, hey, I MVS, you mentioned MVS and Juju, in those roles in this game, but McColl too, doing the jet sweeps. I think that's where this really was the game where all the weapons were used, really to their strengths the most. So yeah, I agree with you. It was kind of the most complete offensive, I guess for the pass offense at least, the most complete game they've had this year.
Definitely. All right, I'm going to go to another one now. Let's see. This one's nothing special in terms of it. It's not a big play, but again, it speaks to kind of Andy Reid coming ready, right? He was kind of had the 49ers pegged all throughout the game. This was the first 3rd and 1, and whatever tendencies were there, Andy knew they were probably going to go with cover 1 man to man. And so what he does here, you'll see Kelce motion inside, kind of puts these coverage defenders in a bind because you have Watson already in place, Juju here, or maybe that's MVS, hard to tell. But Kelce's going to come to the inside, and at the last second, these defenders, they end up having to communicate who to take, all that, and Kelce ends up springing free because they can't figure out, they're trying to work through trash, can't figure out who's supposed to be on them, and a 3rd and 1 play turns into a 30-yard gainer. And before I toss it off, look at Bosa here. One way where they just kind of put him in conflict. You've got the play action fake. McKinnon does a good job of going low on him, but not getting penalized this time, right or wrong. And Yeah, man. So it's just one of those things. They knew what coverage they were going to get, and here you have the results.
Well, yeah. So I know this is a short yardage conversion, but I just I love the fact that the Chiefs are seeing more man coverage this year because isn't as a play caller, don't you want like in terms of like scheming stuff up, like you want to see more man coverage, obviously, because it's easier to get someone open. It's easier to manipulate the defense when you know exactly what they're supposed to. You know that hey, all these players are looking at their receivers only. They're not worried about Mahomes' eyes or anything. And I know, short yardage, you're going to run a lot of man coverage anyway, but just a nice example of Andy Reid kind of taking advantage of playing, seeing a lot more man coverage than he did last year. So any final thoughts on the offense, at all, Brian? Just, okay, let's talk real quick. So you really did like how the offensive tackles played, because I think Orlando Brown, it might have been his best game. I think we talked about it in the group chat. It might have been the best game of his Chiefs career. Did you notice that, Brian? I don't know. How did you feel about that Orlando Browns play?
Very glad you brought that up because what I would say, it was a good game for Orlando. He still had moments. He had a pressure or two that he gave up. But it looked a lot more like him at the end of last year, where, like I said, a couple pressures, nothing crazy. Was doing a better job getting into his kick, and his hands still land high a lot of times, but for whatever reason that doesn't get penalized, and it works. So no qualms there. They gave him a little help. Wiley, I would say, better than he has been in a lot of games, but it's still a thing. It's still an issue, and it's not going away, right? So they're going to have to keep doing this stuff. They're going to have to keep chipping with running backs and tight ends and getting creative. But you saw what happened Sunday. If they can do that against San Francisco with Wiley, they can do that against anybody when the time comes. So it's just something they got to work around. All offenses have issues like that, and that's the Chiefs right now.
Right. Nate, I just gave you opportunity if you want to talk about the offense tackles at all, because I know you were impressed as well.
Yeah, and I think going back to like the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, like we saw some of these things from Andy Reid in the first half. It wasn't as successful. Like the Chiefs weren't moving the ball as much. And like obviously the Chiefs won the game, but there were still a lot of things that gave him problems. And this type of like 49ers defense is like so aggressive. Like they're just flying around the field. I thought Andy Reid did a great job of just like attacking tendencies, especially with Bosa, leaving him unblocked, chipping him.
Yeah.
Bosa was tired by the end of the game. He did have the one sack, but like he just when you compare it to like someone like Joey Bosa, which is something I talked about, like when you saw Joey Bosa in week 2, like he was just reading everything out, blowing up everything the Chiefs tried to do to slow him down. Nick wasn't like that. And I thought that was a great play. And the offensive line, when I went back and watched all 22, it was great. I thought Creed Humphrey played an incredible game, especially run blocking. I thought it was Joe Thuney's best game of the year. Definitely Orlando Brown's best game of the year. Thought it was the best Trey Smith looked moving all year. And like that was super impressive to me. They just like it was probably their best performance since last year against the Eagles, which that was like peak offensive line play for me. And this performance was very similar to it.
Interesting. Yeah. No, you say that Eagles game. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, you're right. They were killing it that game. So that's high praise. That is very high praise. No, I agree though. But come on, people. We talked enough offense. Let's talk some defense, because I do think for the second week in a row, obviously there were some things the defense did wrong. Obviously they get gashed in the run game. Obviously, they're not like a dominant group, right? No one is expecting them to be. But for the second straight week, Steve Spagnuolo is really maximizing, especially on third downs and pass rushing situations, really is maximizing the talent they do have, and is really making some key difference making plays. And I'll start first of all by just looking at the fact this new third down package that they've really started implementing that I've been a fan of. I've seen someone kind of mention, oh, Chris Jones at defensive end, that didn't work last year. Well, that's not what's happening here, right? And the new pass rush package is, and I'm showing it here. It's actually a lot of times you'll see it's only 3 down linemen. I saw in the last few weeks they only had 3 down linemen for a lot of them. You see Dunlap as the 4th down lineman here, but Chris Jones on the edge over right tackle specifically, Karlaftis at nose tackle, and then you have another edge rusher out here. So Karlaftis has been the nose tackle on every one of these 2. I think they just like his ability to just create some havoc, take up some space. And then, if you overpower a center, you do. But a lot of times he's just trying to get the attention of the guard, which will happen here. Or I guess Nick Bolton takes the attention of the guard, but it just leaves Jones on an island at right tackle, right? And that's the thing. He is better as an interior pass rusher. He definitely is. But if you give Chris Jones a one-on-one and with that much room to work, with no one helping him on any offensive line, he's going to be able to do this kind of stuff. And it's actually what play he got the sack on that was called for roughing the passer. And so it is funny because I do think, it was kind of a failed defensive end experiment last year, which it was, but he's having some of his most impactful plays this year rushing from the defensive end spot. Now here's a couple more plays of him doing it that actually he doesn't make an impact. But I wanted to point out the other part of this package. I mentioned that it's a lot of 3-down linemen. Well, they've had against the Bills, we saw some linebacker as that fourth guy. In the Niners game, we actually saw Frank Clark as the interior rusher, that fourth guy, and he's actually standing up on these. So he's a stand-up rusher. And I think what they're doing is just taking advantage of his athleticism, right? He's probably the most athletic, the quickest moving, the fleetest of foot defensive end they have. So really, that's what they're doing. They're taking advantage of his athleticism, and what that does here is he just attacks the right guard's outside shoulder, getting that momentum from standing up top, and it just creates space for Dunlap to stun in, right, to loop in and get a hand on the pass. Dunlap leaps into the batted pass. I thought that was pretty funny, almost like a layup into the pass. But no, Frank Clark, I think that's another part about what Spags is doing this year is I think he's really maximizing Clark's ability too. I think he's putting him in these kind of situations where, yeah, he shouldn't just be trusted on the edge every down because he's not that good. He really isn't. He's played better this year, but why not mix it up and give him a chance to maximize his strengths, his athleticism by doing stuff like this, where on this next play I show, he's just taking up the right guard's, occupancy or his attention, right? He's taking the right guard's attention, so he can't help with Chris. Well, Chris almost gets a sack here, and it then forces Jimmy into a bad throw. So I just really was impressed with how Spags was deploying the pass rush against the Niners in that package specifically. Chris Jones over the right tackle, but it wasn't just that. I also noticed and I'm going to just point out one example of it. A simulated pressure that, and I just grabbed the wrong one, but a simulated pressure on 2nd and 1. I think it was late in the first half. Yeah, it was late in the first half, and it actually forces a punt eventually. But I love this design. So you see late, I'm gonna pause it at the very beginning, but you see Willie Gay late coming to the edge here, and actually you can't see it, but on the other side, L'Jarius Sneed's actually coming up to the edge. So I'll show that over here. So you have 2 blitzers coming from each edge, right? And Jimmy G sees this. They want him to see it. They're not trying to disguise anything. They're coming late, but they know Jimmy G knows what a blitz is. And he's going to react to it. Well, what they're banking on is, hey, Jimmy G is going to want to beat this blitz quick and throw maybe to his front side, right? His dominant side, the quicker way to throw, not his blind side. And so what do? Is when they send those blitzers, they end up dropping Carlos Dunlap and Colin Saunders into coverage to that side, to the side that they're, and I think it's just a tendency thing. They probably looked this up, but they probably were seeing that, hey, when Jimmy G wants to beat a blitz, he's probably going to be comfortable throwing to his dominant side, not a blind side. And so they drop these guys right to where he wants to throw. And what does he do? He just sits there and says, shoot, I can't throw it anywhere. I'm just going to get nailed and get a sack. And this was on 2nd down. The next play, they get a 3rd down stop and force a punt. Now, the cool thing about this play too, to me, is Dunlap plays this really well, in my opinion. He engages first to make the right tackle think he's coming, right? Mike McGlinchey comes out thinking, hey, I got to block this dude. Well, he does. And maybe McGlinchey should have at some point backed up, but, he takes him out of the play. McGlinchey's blocking nobody. He could have maybe gotten a chance on Willie Gay if he reacts quicker, although, Willie's so fast, I don't think that's the case. But Dunlap brings him out of the pass protection and completely erases him from being able to impact the pass protection. So not only did Spags, get coverage players into where Jimmy G wants to throw to quickly beat the blitz, he also completely takes a blocker away from the pass protection, making it 4 blockers on 4 rushers now instead of 5 blockers. So really think that's cool. And the important point of this is that it's a simulated pressure. And what that means is they're still sending 4. There's still 4 people coming at the quarterback. It's not a blitz. It's not going to go down as a blitz in the stats because there's only 4 rushers sending, but it's still a blitz and it still confuses the quarterback. So that's where I really wanted to point that out, because I think Spags is really doing a number with this defense right now, really giving them, maximizing their pass rush talent. They don't have a lot of talent, and here's just a few more simulated pressures that I noticed. They don't have a lot of talent at the defensive line, positions. We know that Chris Jones is the best, and then it's just a bunch of other guys. But Spags is maximizing what they do right now by playing them in certain roles, and so I really like what Spags is doing, and it really showed up in the San Fran game. I think they had 5 sacks. It was a season high. I think it was actually probably Spags' best game plan of the year. And they scored, they still gave up 23 points. The 49ers still gashed them in the run game because they're a good team and they can do that. But I think Spags with the pass rush really made a difference and kind of allowed them to maybe run away with this a little bit. And I didn't even show the red zone interception, which I did have clipped, but he sends a bunch of pressure there and forces Jimmy into a bad throw, interception. So I think Spags did a lot. I don't know. I'll throw it to you, Brian. Do you have any takes on the defense, how the pass rush has been this year? What are you thinking?
Hey, that one right there is a great example of what they've missed with Willie Gay being out in suspension. His speed being as rare as it is for a linebacker. If they run that same play with any of their other linebackers, they maybe don't get there, right? Yeah. Definitely not as quick. Now Clark was in his face too, so maybe he finishes it off either way. But so that's good to see. And I think overall with the defense, hey, whether they make a trade this week or not, which honestly I think I would lean yes, I would just encourage people to stay patient, because we've seen for 3 years now that the Spagnuolo defense does get better as the year goes on.
Right.
He's going to only layer more and more, schematic calls into his game plans. And so it's not just holding out and hoping, right? There is evidence that they're probably going to improve. And so we're going to see, but I selfishly hope that it involves a new player as well.
Yeah. Similar to Melvin Ingram last year, right? I think that is, something we could see. Nate, you see the pass rush, you've seen them all season. I don't know. What do you think about how they've kind of been put together?
We'll talk about this game in particular. What I really enjoyed about Spags' game plan when I went back and watched it last night is the thing about the Kyle Shanahan offenses is his protections, he'll slide one way and then they build hot reads off the other side. And Jimmy G doesn't process pressure at a super high level. And you really don't he doesn't really have scrambling ability. That one touchdown aside, but he doesn't really manage pressure well in the pocket. So the goal is if you can take away Jimmy's hots, if you can take away his hot reads, he's not going to get to the other side of the field or create in chaos. And that's where simulated pressures do well, because if you get a beat on what they can do, what they're doing protection wise, and it almost in every single one of these, when Jones is inside, they're sliding to him, which makes sense. So send pressure on his other side, because they're gonna drop on his other side and send pressure to the sliding side, or the man side, I should say. And you're going to have a free runner at him, and you'll have your hots taken away if you're defensive lineman. Like you said, Dunlap here. And like you said, Dunlap's alone on the backside versus right tackle, because it's a 4-man slide on the other way. So just engaging him, he's not going to be able to scan and find the other protection. Or find a free runner anywhere.
Right.
And like you said, Dunlap and Saunders do a great job just taking away. Jimmy's looking for the hot, it's covered. Watch his arm. He just hitches, he's tucking. He's going to go down the ground every time. So yeah, I thought this was arguably Spags' best game. There were times they got burned. There was one drive in particular where they got burned 4 times in a row. But Jimmy felt that in the fourth quarter. You could tell when it was time for him to actually drop back and pass. All those hits earlier in the game, all those different pressure looks, he just wasn't processing it at a high level.
Yeah, no, that's a great point on the hot reads, because I think that's what Spags is doing here, right? That's exactly what he's doing on taking away his hot, and yeah, no, great points, and I agree with you. It was one of Spags' best games, and hey, you can do these sim pressures when your nose tackle can move like a linebacker, like Colin Saunders can. I mean, golly, that guy can move. I think on the second clip it really shows. Yeah, watch this clip, him move and get downfield to take down McCaffrey. I mean, it's just crazy, man. He really can move. I'm really glad he's getting more playing time. As we leave, I might just throw out a quick hot take that he needs to be playing over Derek Nottie at this point from first
Oh,
down on. I
absolutely.
mean, there's nothing about Nottie, at this point, he's usually the run stuffer, take up to a double team. He's not really doing it that well. So, I mean, why not have a guy that can maybe do it, maybe not at the same level, but also have that athleticism, that penetration when they do pass on first down that can maybe give a little more upside as a pass rusher than Nottie can. So that's my hot take for the defense. We'll see if that changes after the bye. But that's the AP Film Room for the night. Boys, it was a great time. I'm going to give you both a chance to maybe just say bye to the people and let them know what they can expect from you at the site. I know actually both of you got your film articles out, so plug away, Bryan. Plug it away.
That's right. So I wrote about some of the stuff I was talking through, the offensive game plan and how that helped the offensive line have arguably their best game, at least in pass protection of the season. And Mahomes, of course, comes with that. He did some crazy stuff. He had some, I would say outside of that first drive, he played as well as he possibly could have. So check that out. And enjoy the bye week, people. It's kind of nice to take the stress down a little bit.
I'm with you on that, Bryan. Nate, tell the people what they can expect from you.
Yeah, so I have my Juju Smith-Schuster article out today. Next week, I'm hoping to have a Kelsey article out about how he continues, and Andy Reid, how they both kind of use him as a weapon and how he's dominating at his age. But yeah, enjoy the bye week. It's a really good reset. I'm actually kind of enjoying the early bye right now. It's kind of a good break. It's right in the middle, so we're right near the middle. So, but yeah, be on the lookout for that next week.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. They usually have a late bye. The Chiefs do. I think that's all. The NFL has always kind of hooked them up in that way. But I don't know. With this, a lot of new pieces gives us a chance to kind of, collect our thoughts on what this team really is for the rest of the season. And we'll keep breaking it down here on the YouTube page. So you'll see us three keep doing it throughout the season. Appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you're commenting. Make sure you're liking, subscribing to the page, and just following the site, following all of us on Twitter. Our ats are on the screen. Just hit us up if you have any questions or if you have anything you want us to talk about, and we'll be here next week probably or sometime. I don't know. We may give ourselves a little bit of a rest on the bye week, but we'll see. I don't know. We love talking Chiefs so much. I can't guarantee anything. So appreciate you guys. We will catch you on the next episode of AP Film Room. Thank you very much.